And I'm so excited. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Collaboratory Coffee. Oh, wait, it's not the podcast. I don't need to do my opening line. I'm joined with Kelly Vrchota today, a membership strategist who has specialized and created a beautiful business helping women, helping entrepreneurs create memberships that are meaningful, that have consistency and have key elements to actually grow and be successful and be of continued value. So thanks so much, Kelly, for coming in here and helping serve my audience and my collaborators. And just so great to see you again. I mean, really, I just wanted to hang out.
Likewise. I'm glad to be here and nice to hang out with you again.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us a little bit about you and then tell us what to do when it comes to running a good membership.
Sounds good. So I'm a membership strategist. I live in Minnesota, and really have focused on helping clients who want to make an impact. Impact is my core value in business and life, and so that has been really aligned for people that come to my world, and they're just looking to have a container where they can impact more people. So oftentimes it's kind of alongside their one-on-one coaching, or it's on the front end or the back end of that. But they want to generate revenue because it's a business, obviously, but they also want to make an impact for people. So that kind of is where I landed in this space. Gosh, probably 2016, 2015. So it's been
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow. That is a while. That's so cool. So, do you, based on the clients you've worked with and what you've seen, how do we balance service and monetizing?
Ooh, that's a good question. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I think when you're like, I always like to look at like what's really going to work well for you because a membership can be a heavy lift if you
Mhm.
feel like you have to have all this content, that you're always on that content hamster wheel or that you're in there, managing all the things. And so to make it the easiest lift, I always like to look at how do you work best? So
Mhm.
like in terms of launching, are you a person that wants to have the doors shut and then you open them up once a quarter, like you get into launch mode, or how does it feel for you as well? Because at the end of the day, if it's not working well for you, the membership owner, it is not going to be sustainable. You're going to say, I need to burn this whole thing down. So I really look at that from the beginning, and then also kind of looking at like what's your purpose of that membership? Is it to have it be a funnel into one-on-one coaching? Is it to support your people on the back end, or is it this standalone container? And I think when you can really get clear on what the purpose of your membership is and how it's going to work best for you, then you can look at, yeah, it should be, an easier lift. It definitely can be monetized because it doesn't have to be something that you're giving away everything for free.
So then already you've kind of described different types of memberships. So maybe let's preempt a little bit of this with what is a membership? Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. back to the
It's
basics. I
not
went too
just a
far.
Facebook group?
Right, right. So really I think of a membership as just this container, that it's this container that's serving one to many people, and it's monetized, but it's this recurring predictable revenue. So you're
Okay.
somebody signing up, they're paying every month, they stay in the membership as long as they're staying in, they're getting charged every month. So if you look at the dollar piece of it, that's kind of
Yep.
really this container that's just ongoing.
Okay.
It's not the course or a coaching program where there's a beginning date, end date, there's a syllabus, and boom, we're all moving through the same path and going, and then we're done.
Okay, so that's different. That's a coaching program. It stands outside. It may have a group forum, but it's sold in a different way, and it's either monthly payments or one-time payment and then wrapped up. But the membership you come in and out of. So then we have like a continuum of services. So there's a bit of a different design in that, right? And so
Right.
each month should be a little bit different. Like, how do we figure out um, drawing this out as a paid service? So take us through purpose. That's
Yeah, so I think if you look at like with a coaching program, you've got a start date, end date, everybody's coming in and we're kind of going through the syllabus at the same time. A membership, you might come in May, I might join in June. We're
mhm,
at different stages. So really structuring it so somebody can come in, it meets them where they're at, but there's this kind of this map or this roadmap that kind of guides them where they can go, but we go at our own pace. We don't have to all be consuming the same content at the same time.
Mhm.
And then a lot of memberships, especially a lot of successful memberships, will have the community component. That is the part that really gets people. They stay. They're connected to the group. They're connected to the coach. They're connected to the people in the group. They see such value, and that a lot of times that's why people will stay month after month and year after year. They might come in for a different reason. They might come in for the content or what you're offering on the front end, but really it's that other piece. Once they're really invested in that community, that's where they're like, "Ooh, I don't want to be done with this."
So they start to get attached to the group. It becomes meaningful, and hopefully you're attracting the like-minded individuals that, foster that. So, I have a free group right now, right? The
Yep.
collaboratory, very kind of gated through me to come in.
Yep.
So in a membership, do we want like an intake process that we're kind of vetting people, or are we just whoever comes in and that's what we're dealing with? Do we have
Most of the memberships, I would say they're not vetted in that sense by any means. You're just really clear of like who's this membership for,
okay,
who's it not for,
yeah,
and really you speak to that in the messaging, and you build out this onboarding process, get them in there and get involved. But then you also have this really clear set of guidelines, rules of here's our culture here,
mm,
and we're going to really create that culture to say, yeah, this is who this is. My one example is, so I was my very first client, who was a friend of mine, we created a membership for her for adoptive and foster families. And so there were at one point 250 people in there. And
mhm,
over the course of 5 years, there were two situations that we had to let somebody, go just because
yeah.
it was not, you're creating this space that's supposed to be, that is safe. You want this safe space for people to share and all of that. And so when you set that up from the beginning and you just say, Here's how it is. I mean, that's different than sometimes what you see in a free Facebook group. You get a lot of the people and they'll, type in behind, and they're willing to say whatever they want to say behind the screen, or, but when you get in there, you just create this space to say, hey, this is how we do it. And I think you can just really set that from the beginning and not have issues.
So, one of the differences between a free group and a paid is people are paying, they're gonna show up, like, from a deeper place, potentially, hopefully, to really be interested in the content, be interested in the leader of the group and the people that are attracted there, and, hopefully then behave a bit different because 'cause they've paid,
Right. Yeah, I
to
think it
show
just kind
the
of it does weed out some of it, and I just think
sure,
it's not even that, but also it is just the expectations that you set. You say, here's our rules, here's our guidelines. We're just not gonna, this is how we do that. And I just think people, sometimes those guidelines work. I was just talking to a client this week about it. Those guidelines might work to say, oh, here's the rules we need to follow. But really, what I think they really do is it shows everybody else, hey, I've created this safe space and I'm going to make sure this is a safe space. So it
mhm,
sends the message to the bulk of the people that are never going to push against those boundaries.
okay. And so how can we lead ourselves through a clear purpose, for the group and consider some of the ways to serve that group before we start filling the house?
Yeah, I think if you're really clear in your purpose of why you're doing it, and then also one thing to kind of really think about is like, what do your people need? I think as business owners, once you've got some people you're working with or in your community, you really know how you can best serve them, but also be willing to open up and listen and think, okay, what are they saying they need? What are they saying that they're really liking? What do they want to, do they want to have some other ideas to throw in, whether you have that be a suggestion box type thing, or you have a, let's get on a call and brainstorm some other ideas to make this place really be this best place it can be for everybody, and really be a listener, an asker of questions and a listener, and be willing to let your membership or your group evolve. And as it goes, you think, okay, I've got this ABCD plan of what I want it to look like. But once you get going with that and you get actual people in there doing that, is that what they're really needing and wanting? And be
So
willing to let it kind of grow.
we create it with clear purpose, intention, then it becomes ours instead of just mine, right? And we wanna
Right.
move with them, and that's how we can kind of maintain creative flow of what we're offering, how we're serving in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what are some platforms that are, effective? Like, how would I create a paid Facebook group? Would I set up a landing page, payment portal, and then once they pay, they get a link to go there? Or what are my other
Yep.
options?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is a really simple way to do that. I think,
Yeah.
especially people are there, they're in that mindless scroll in the evening, so they're already in that space of that. So that can be a really great component for your community component. And there's a lot of platforms that are really great outside of Facebook as well. I mean, there's Circle, there's Heartbeat, just a lot of ones that have community things. And then there's platforms that are really robust for having your content, Searchy, Kajabi, where you're holding if you have a lot of,
Right.
videos and stuff like that. And some of them, Kajabi does have a community platform, and Searchy doesn't. So then you're having, that alongside your community component. So I
Mhm.
think really looking at what's going to work best for you and what do you need today, but also let's look out in a year as it grows, kind of look forward a little bit when you make that decision.
And what are so we want to show up, like, are we daily serving in there? Do we have a weekly free class once they're in? Like, it feels like it could be a lot of content.
Absolutely. So I think
So,
kind of the guideline, like I like to say, is, like no more than once a week are you going to have some kind of content. So whether that content is, let's do a Q&A session, or is it, like a training that you're going to do, you know, anything more than once a week is just going to overwhelm your people, and if they're overwhelmed, they're out, they're not going to stick around. And so looking at that, but kind of the more frequent ones, the daily ones, is really getting your members engaged. And I think that can really, you start that really clear with that onboarding process, get them going, and then kind of as that grows and as your group grows, then that seems to be a lot easier of a lift. It's a little hard in the beginning when your numbers are really small to get people to show up and engage.
mhm,
But once that kind of gets going and you just really kind of train them to show up and ask them questions that they're answering, or they're posting their wins, or they're you know showing up for different things, you kind of just really set that from the beginning, and that kind of basically it's kind of training them to show up
sure.
and interact there, and get their questions answered or support one another.
So it sounds like a really good opportunity to step into your vision for yourself, and have that accountability. Running a group means that now you really have to have discipline and commitment to serve these people and set the tone
Right.
and the rhythm for them. So,
Yep.
um, you know, important in the early stages, if there's not a lot of people, it's not about the numbers, it's about the discipline and the um, consistency in managing that group. Because if you go
Right.
from 0 to 100 and you haven't kind of trained yourself along the way, then
Exactly.
you're gonna poop the bed.
Exactly, exactly. And then you can also look at, like, okay, where are my holes? Are my holes in somebody
Mm,
comes in, they join, they hit the sign button, they pay? Are they getting into the group? Are they actually,
mhm,
getting, showing up or getting registered, logged into the platform that you're on, or where the content is? Like you can figure those, make sure you're not having holes or leaks along the way. So when
mhm.
you're ready to really grow it, you've got retention. I mean, that's the name of the game for memberships, is keeping members in. It's not this you know, um, circular
Turnover.
door that, people in and out,
Mhm.
in and out. I mean, that's,
Right.
nobody really wants that. You want members that say, oh my gosh, I can't imagine not being in this membership. I get so much value out of it. I want to stay. So that, I mean, retention is the name of the game for memberships, I think.
That's the name of the game. So, that and I guess it's more meaningful for the leader as well, right? Because, like, you really are connected to your people, and they love you and you love them. You have this dynamic between you that serves and gives at the same time to each other. So they it doesn't really become a they and me, it's an us,
Yep.
right?
It's an
It's
us. Absolutely.
us. We embody that energy, and then that means that the pressure's not necessarily just on you as the founder of the group to consider, because as we talked about, we're looking to them for more information on how to serve. And so it's almost like a way to continue to grow your business with others truly for
Mhm.
them, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
just
And
wanting.
you can open it up, bring in a guest speaker, or you can bring in somebody that's in the group. Hey, do you want to come and teach or talk about this? Or I've
Mhm.
had people in their memberships where they have members that are leading a book club or a book discussion, or that it doesn't have to. Once you build that culture of it, it doesn't have to fall all on your shoulders.
Yeah. And then I mean, you can run it for as long as you want. So what's the shortest membership you've seen or the
Oh, I mean, there's people.
longest? A day? An hour?
I've seen people open, get ready to do it and never even hit the launch button because
Yeah.
something kind of gets in their way of that. But there are memberships that last for years and years, and there's members that stay for years and years and years. So, you know, I think once you find the right fit for you, and the thing that people come to me so often about, they say, this has been on my head for a long time, or or I've heard a lot of people say, it's just been on my heart to do this. I just really want to serve people in a different way, or in a way that I can really help more people, that they were kind of one-on-one. And when you're one-on-one, you're limited. You only get to help so many people that way.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a linear exchange where the one to many, and then those in the community serve each other too in the same spirit and um, will impart whatever you've taught them through their own version that will serve others in the
Hmm.
community, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
that's a beautiful, um, again, that us-ness
yeah,
to that environment.
yeah. One thing I'd like to share that kind of reminds me of that. So my very first client was a really good friend of mine. So she was this coach for adoptive foster parents, and I tell the story. So if anybody's been on the phone with me, they've heard this story. But she always said, as long as I'm on this planet, no family will have to do this alone. I'm like, okay, great mission, Stacy, but are you going to get there only doing one-on-one? So we kind of got in this, started doing webinars or workshops. They called them webinars back then. And that was fine. But these parents, they came and got a tool, but then they were kind of like, now what? And so we came across a membership model, put that in, and just was a game changer for her business, but really for those families, because they got ongoing support and could bring their questions and stuff. Well, she passed away in 2019, and this membership of some core parents in that group has continued on since, well, what are we at? Almost 5 years.
Right.
Almost 5 years later, they have continued on in this group because they are connected and invested in each other, and supporting one another. So
So you
that
don't
just
get
kind of
much more
blows my mind.
successful than that, right? Like
No,
that's
no,
legacy.
that's a
Yeah.
legacy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. I often say, she would never have believed it had continued on and carried. And it's just so powerful and beautiful to me. So that's,
And that's like it's freeing too, because now you're giving birth to something in true service. So here's back to the first question, in true service that then can still monetize at the same time, right?
right.
And
Exactly.
so if we want to talk about the money part and the quantity part, I want to make $10,000 a month off my membership, so I'm going to charge everybody $1,000.
Right. Right.
Or what's like, is there kind of fair prices, or how can we kind of put value, monetary value on that will compensate us for our time and effort, but still be accessible to the person who's
Absolutely.
in there?
Yeah. And there's just not a one size fits all answer on that. You really need to look at your market. You need to look at your people. You need to look at, do some market research, what's out there. The memberships I work with, the clients I work with, they're not the $7 membership where you get the $7 meal plan or whatever. That's just kind of, those can be really pretty much run on autopilot. There's not that community component. There's not this coaching component. So those are a different price point. But I've had clients that, anywhere from $27 a month to, 297, 397 a month. The one thing with memberships is audience. You need to just have, looking at your audience, it is not always an easier conversion than one-to-one. So you just need a larger pool of people than you do for one-to-one. So building an audience is really key, in the beginnings of it. So you need to have enough people to be able to put that offer out to.
Oh, so we would build our audience the way that we're doing it, and then start to introduce the membership as a product
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
and
you can do that,
shift
yep,
them from, like, say,
yep.
our Facebook profile into this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think so, if you've got, if you've got 10 people on your email list, it's going to be hard
Mhm,
to fill your membership with 10 people.
mhm,
But, you put a couple hundred in there, then you just conversion rates are a little bit,
mhm,
they're a little trickier with membership. So you want to have enough people in your circle or your audience. But once it starts going, the best of those members in there that are just waving that flag like, oh my gosh, this place is so great, you've got to come join. I
mhm.
think that's your once that really develops, you start getting people, just bringing people in. So
Okay. Um, let's see, what else can you tell us? I'm all like, I'm planning in
gosh,
the back of
I'm
my
trying.
mind.
You're planning.
We launched this as a product, right? So you talked about, opening the doors, so
Yep,
different ways it could it be open year round, join month to month, or we could kind of, um, open the doors and take a new influx in every once in a
yep,
while, like.
yep, yep. So that can be that, that's real common to do. Let's say you open it once a quarter, and
Mhm,
then the doors are closed. And it kind of really depends. It kind of depends on your audience. Like, so with the one for the adopt and foster parents, we didn't feel great about having the doors closed because somebody's coming and they're struggling.
yeah,
It's hard to say, oh no, you need to
yeah.
wait till next quarter. So I'm a believer of you got to look at what works for your people and what do they need. Um, and also look at your how you operate. Do is that exhausting of that launch? Do you do better just having the doors open? If you look at
Mhm,
a lot of times the statistics, it is you get a better conversion lots of times with the doors closed, but if it doesn't
mhm,
feel good to you and it doesn't fit you, again,
okay,
it's not sustainable.
okay, yeah, so there is a bit of like a sales strategy involved, but
Yep,
we're our own business owner, and so we can choose how we
yep,
wanna run it. And if we're
yep.
just starting out, is it does it matter which strategy we apply for a brand new membership?
No, I think you open the doors up like, like a founding member launch is a great way to do that. Come
Mm,
in and you just really send the message, the tone, like, I'm creating this new space and I would love to have you help me come and help us shape it. So they
mhm,
get this really great deal because they're getting locked in as that founding member, but
mhm,
they also get to have some, voice in it. Like, what do we want to see out of it? What do
uh-huh,
we need? Let's kind of let it evolve together. And I think that
okay,
founding member can really be that. That's a great way to do that. And that number isn't necessarily going to be a really big number if you're not going to have, hundreds of members as your founding members, but you kind of work the kinks out that way too. And it just becomes a safe space and they get the best deal and they're locked in at that rate. So they're sticking around and they've got skin in the game. They're invested in that group and that community.
they're like an influence in the future of it with you.
Yep.
And if we
Yep.
wanted to increase rates as time goes by, then whenever we open doors or make a
Yep.
new promotion around it, we have to, um, figure out in our billing system, I guess, attach these clients are paying this rate and then
Yep.
maybe a new pay link that
Yep.
charges a
Yep.
different rate for anybody
Right,
new that
right.
starts to come
And they
in.
get locked in. So if they come in at that next rate, let's say
Mm,
you're just for easy math, let's say the founding member rate's $50 and the next rate's $100.
yeah,
If I come in at $100 and you jump it to $200, I'm still locked in as long as I'm an active or not
yeah,
active, but as long as I'm a paying current member. If I
yeah, yeah,
quit and
yeah,
decide I want to come back a few months later,
it's
well, then I'm at that other rate, the
that
new
new
rate. And
rate.
so that
Yeah,
really kind of helps people they want to stick around because they get locked in at that rate. So that's it does
mm,
work that way too. So
yeah. Wow, so like, you just break it down so simple, it doesn't actually sound super scary. I think the scarier part is gonna be the self-trust of showing up as that leader,
yep,
but, reminding that once you build it, they will come, and now it's not just you necessarily. So, is it good to maybe, like, stack the membership with some content before you open the doors, or
yeah.
what
I mean,
should.
you certainly can. It doesn't have to be. Again, it doesn't have to be this big vault of content. Put
Mhm,
some basic stuff in there. So when your people come in, there's something for them to consume and something for them to take part in, and and let it evolve. I mean, I always love to do like a big kickoff call at the beginning to say, let's have a let's have a kick-off party. Let's make it fun and festive, but let's
Mhm.
brainstorm some ideas and have, maybe those first ones, you've got some core content of some foundational stuff depending on your topic and stuff, but then it's about really creating the space. Do they get best support if they show up for a Q&A? So you do a Q&A once a month or twice a month, depending on, what your people need. So it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be this big vault of content. That's going to, if you're a content rich membership, that's going to grow as you just start putting stuff in. It doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, I need this big vault of stuff right away.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
them giving them a roadmap from the beginning so they know where to even go. Because you get into a really content rich membership, if there's this big vault, you're like, well, I don't know where do we even start? And so,
Sure.
so giving them a place to plug into right away.
Yeah, so they can self-navigate,
Right.
but then be connected to the community upon
Exactly.
arrival too. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fabulous. Well, I'm sure I have a gazillion more questions.
We can fire them away anytime you want. So
Right.
my door is always open.
Membership 101. Well, that's great. So Kelly, where can we find you if we, want to work with you to start a membership or whatever, get
Yeah, so
coached
my
on?
website is just my name, www.kellyvrchota.com. And if you hit /checklist, I've got a checklist there of like you're kind of
Mm,
creating a membership. Here's some things to consider, things that you need. So that's
mhm,
a kind of a good place to start if you're kind of just noodling around. And I'm always happy to hop on a call and help somebody unravel their idea and to see,
mhm.
is it you know, is it a good time to start doing your membership, or do you still need a little more unraveling?
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Super duper. Well, thanks so much. That was a
Yeah,
blast.
thanks for
And
having me. Yeah.
now I want to start I'm going to get that checklist and start my outline for my crazy new idea.
It's not a crazy idea. It's a great idea. So I'm excited to see it evolve.
Okay, Kelly, have a good day. I'm going to stop our recording.
Sounds good.